Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here on this May 13th, 2021. I'm excited for the program ahead, but before we get into that, I just want to mention our sponsors. We have our patron members, ABS Quality Evaluations and Onuma Systems, and we have other organizational members, as you can see here. This month's sponsor for this program, ALN Thursday at 4, is Uberlytics and Mentor APM. And next Thursday at 4, you can see the CEO and co-founder, Tacoma Zach and Jennifer Zach of both of these companies here at 4 p.m. And last, before we get underway here, I just want to mention that we'd love to hear from you if you're out there watching. Put any comments or questions, feedback, anything in the chat or the Q&A function of this Zoom webinar, and we will try to get those questions answered towards the end. And without further ado, Jim Dieter, take it away.
Well, hey, I hope everybody's having a great day. It's beautiful here in Virginia. We've had a long, cool spring, and soon it'll be 100 degrees probably, but we're enjoying it while we have it. So I'm very excited to have Annette Kampf-Dern, as our guest today. We have not had a guest from Germany before, so that's new ground for us as we work around the world, I guess. But we have met through the ISO process, and where I've made many great friends with a lot of really interesting people. So, Annette, welcome to ALN Thursday at 4.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited to be here and be broadcasted in the States while being in Europe. This is very new for me, and I mean, it's 10 p.m. in Germany at the moment, and hopefully I will still be top of my mind to answer the questions, and hope to bring some new aspects to these topics that might be exciting also for others. But at least I think there are a couple of things I might add that are a bit unusual, not only in the States, but also, in fact, in Germany.
Awesome. Well, as everyone knows, I usually start with the origin question of how you got into asset management, or what brought you to to the point of being here today. And you're a professor, so that's a different story. Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, of course. So in fact, I have just started a new professorship at the University of Applied Sciences in Frankfurt, and it's for management of facility services, which is not about like the asset management I thought of originally and that I spent my time with in the last like 20 to 30 years. And regarding your question, I was thinking, so what is the day when I came in? And of course, my ISO activities, which were also a little bit by accident, I think I joined the German Mirror Committee in 2010 or something like that. So we could say like since then I'm in asset management. But in fact, also in 2010, I finalized my dissertation, which was the first one in Germany about real estate asset management, about how to set up a real estate asset management company, which did not exist much or not at all in Germany at that time. How to structure it, how you do your personnel management, how do you culture. And the question was about how to ensure that real estate asset management would be professional. So it was about the professional organization of real estate asset management. And in Germany at that time, asset management was really, really new for physical assets. Of course, not for financial assets. So, I mean, an SEB bank asset management, it was about asset classes, but it was not about real estate asset management. So the term asset management was only known for the financial investment management in Germany. And so, in fact, why did I do my dissertation about something that was so unusual at that time? And in fact, this started in 2001 when my second case at the Boston Consulting Group, was at an investment company of an insurance. So it was like a financial asset manager of a German insurance company. And one of the real estate CEOs, he got a book from the States, from Söns Braun, which was about real estate asset management from 1994. And he sent me to a journey, or me as a consultant of BCG, to a journey to investigate what this is, this real estate asset management that we did not know in Germany, because we only had like the portfolio management and some kind of operative object management. We could say like it was maintenance, asset management was the operative part, and the investment, the portfolio management for investment, real estate investment company, and nothing in between. So I found out that asset management for real estate investment was the strategic management of real estate objects, of real estate assets, buildings. And in fact, that was the start for this company to install a medium level of strategic management on the object level. So this was, and so I could say like I started in asset management in 2001, but in fact, I think it goes a little bit further back, because before that, I was a project developer, a real estate project developer. And in fact, project development is something like asset management on the conceptual side, not on the like operational side, but rather in the design. And so I did asset management before knowing I did asset management. And in fact, and this started very early, and we come to that point maybe later about education of asset managers, because my study was in economical engineering, which is a combination in Germany, was very rare when I started in '85. Only 5 people in Germany studied that simultaneously, business administration and civil engineering at the same time. Like it was like a conjoined program, and very, very rare. But I think it's a really good foundation for asset managers to have business administration and engineering competences, but we will come to more, because I think it's not sufficient to have these two, but it's better than having only one of the two.
Awesome. Wow, that's great. You know, I'm sitting here and you're making me think of my college days, and I studied mathematics at a small liberal arts college. And they said, well, for language, you have to take a language, Jim. You should take German, because that'll be useful in your mathematics career. And of course, with a name like Dieter, we have some family heritage of German words. In fact, I have my grandmother's birth certificate, which is in German. You know, from the US, from the late.
But isn't mathematics the language of like mathematics is the language as it's on itself? It doesn't need German or English or Japanese. I think it's a language of itself. But German engineering is probably somehow famous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At any rate, I never became a mathematician, and I never became fluent in German, for sure. So I was in awe, you know, as I'm in awe now of you speaking in the second language, or perhaps even a third language, and being so articulate when I couldn't put a sentence together in German. So I was reminded of how an amazing skill that is. So you mentioned your university. So can you tell us a little bit about your university and your students? And, you know, so are you teaching asset management there? What are you teaching?
In fact, at the moment, it's management. It's called management of facility services. But I spent the last 10 years at universities. And in fact, like right when I finalized my dissertation, I saw a job offer, and it just came up of real estate management. And real estate management at the university level has been very rare as well. So I have been teaching for like about 10 or 11 years, various kinds of starting from investment and finance, but also HR management, project management, process management. Now I'm going to also teach workflow management so like more on the operative basic. But I also taught asset management, for example, in Weimar. But it's all kinds that are also introduction to business administration and stuff like that, because I do think, I'm totally convinced, and my recent university also, the program is called Real Estate and Facility Management. And what I'm like fighting for, and this is very nicely done at the Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences, where I'm now for real estate and facility management, but also in Weimar at the Bauhaus University, where they have a program that's called management, civil engineering, infrastructure, and real estate. So it's about all the whole life cycle of built environments. And this is, I think we need more education that is holistic, that provides on the bachelor level as well as on the master's level, that provides people, future managers with competences in all these areas, not only in engineering, in business administration, but also like in our case, in architecture a little bit, but also sociology, psychology, because this kind of management, it's always associated to people management. And this is also something that I do like about the ISO 55000, and we will stress that a little bit more probably in our work, is this leadership aspect, because management part is the leadership aspect, and the other part is the engineering and the asset that is to be managed. But it's the people who do the asset management. And so as a holistic approach, I think we need to teach people how to also manage other people and how to lead those people and give structure and frameworks and stuff like that. And this is what we try to do in Frankfurt in this program on the bachelor level, to provide them with a broad basis on certain competences that they can apply then in their jobs.
No, I couldn't have said it better about asset leadership. I mean, that's what really what we're about is, it's the people part, but it's also the using all those asset management activities to realize value from the assets for the organization. So, very aligned thinking there. What was I going to ask next? So what about just asset management in Germany? Well, first, what is the term in German for asset management? How do you say
it? Asset management.
Ah.
The problem is in German. The problem, I mean, we talked about that some time ago in another occasion, but the problem in Germany we have no German word for this kind of active management. We have a word, it's like, if you look up in the dictionary, what is the translation of management in German, the meaning would be administration. So we have a word, it's called Verwaltung, but Verwaltung is administration. And I align, and I have studied management also, of course, and management studies are in Germany for about 30, 40 years, maybe not the strategic management that is taught in the States, but it's about actively analyzing, planning, designing, steering, organizing, steering, controlling, like this plan, do, check, act. This is not administration, it's management.
Yeah.
And there's no German word for management, except of management, but many people use the word management without really knowing what it means.
I always laugh when we're having ISO discussions, and the discussion about, it's very important, about the difference between asset management and managing assets, which barely makes sense in English. And as soon as you translate it to Spanish or German or probably many other French, it's just, there's no meaning at all. It's, just entirely different.
It provides a lot of confusion, and also this, asset management systems in Germany, in the translation, in the German ISO translation, we translated it in AM management systems. So it's a management system for asset management. It's not a management system for managing assets. And so we have AM management system, but still, I think when we work on the new version, and what I learned in my real estate asset management discussions, or real estate management, because when I started my dissertation, there was really confusion about what real estate management would mean. And I translated it in certain levels and said, like, here's real estate services, and these services, they need to be managed. That's the operative managing. And this is probably managing assets is operative real estate management or property management, how we use that on this operative management level. And then you have the strategic level of asset management, which is called in Germany real estate asset management now, and also in the US as far as I know, but it's the strategic object level. And then we come to another level, which is the portfolio or investment level, which is more normative. And there's also the alignment to the objectives of an organization. So we have at least 3 levels, and I think by having this in an operative, strategic, and normative level, which also comes from a German researcher, Knut Bleicher, I think that would be clear, and you can very easily describe and align those things. It's much easier to understand than managing assets versus asset management. So maybe we need to have in our new ISO, we need to have some kind of more leveling of these management functions.
Yes, yes. So that was a brilliant discussion. And I think I hope people can appreciate that being involved in this ISO process, which is still time to do, if anybody's interested, it's amazing learning can happen when you talk to someone who has different points of view, of course, but it highlights just the difference of how language drives us to thinking of certain things in a certain way. And that a discussion like you just gave us enables us to see and understand things in our own language in a different way. So that's really good.
Yeah. We always have trouble in the translations, and in fact, now we just translated some of the leafletters that we are using on the ISO, and in fact, I had the feeling that there are some practical examples that are not even fitting, and when we translated them, we took the liberty to adjust them, not only translate those examples, but adjust them to do a better understanding. That differentiates this managing assets and asset management. And I mean, the really important thing about the asset management ISO norm is the alignment of the strategic organizational, the asset. And it's not about how to minimize the cost from assets. And in fact, that's also in Germany, like for real estate, I'm always thinking in the real estate world, and this operative management, it can delete value, but it cannot generate value. And this is a distinction that is really important, that people understand what are the overarching goals, what are the objectives, why do we have these assets? And then they can manage them. And this is something, this strategic thinking is missing, I think, in most of the countries. And now where it comes, and in asset management with physical assets, the problem is that it's so interdisciplinary, and asset management is so much driven by engineers and not by, this combination of strategic managers and engineers is usually not given, and there's no education in that area. And this is not only in Germany, I'm talking about my US colleagues as well. And this is something we really need to address, how we can generate competent asset managers that are not 40 years old and have done a lot of experience and additional education, but really the youngsters. As we train civil engineers or business administration, we should also train people like in the medical sciences, like a doctor, all the doctors, no matter where they focus in the end, they all learn the whole perspectives of the human body, of the complexity. And this is something that we need, I think, for the built environments, for example, or physical assets, that they understand everything, that they can architecture and engineering and atmosphere and usage and function and society and so on. It's really complex, but we need to have people who understand the basics of all that before they start and go into like functional disciplines, I think. But this is very, very innovative, even in Germany.
We were, there's been a lot of talking about degree programs or advanced degree programs in asset management. We have a lot of interest in and have had some talks with people about, but it's, what all should be included. And it's interesting, very interesting topic. But you also touched on getting different kinds of people involved. And I know we had mentioned a little bit about talking a little bit about diversity. Do you have thoughts on diversity in asset management, and what does that mean to you?
I mean, it has two sides when we talk about diversity. And I always talk, I mean, one issue is, and has been in my professional experience, like the lack of other females. So in my studies, in my program at the Technical University at Berlin, we were 3% females. So four females out of 120 economical engineers. It softened a little bit over my life, but still in the real estate industry or in others, or if you look in our, it's like maybe we are 10% females now or something like that, 15, let it be 20. So this is a question of diversity, and I think that this kind of holistic view is like black and white. Is females do easier with that, also with like social issues, with climate responsibility, like all these kind of taking over responsibility. I think this would add value if we can get more females into asset management, because they add these additional necessary perspectives to engineering and to business administration. But diversity is also like this disciplinary diversity. And I think, as I said, like it's not sufficient to have only engineers and business administrators. You also need to have others, especially depending on which kind of assets you are talking about. But if it's like in our case, in my case, if it's real estate, like this has a social value as well. This has a societal and sustainability value as well. If you look at energy, not only consumption, but also gray energy and all this. So you have to have a really integrative view, and not one person or one discipline can provide that. So our programs need to be interdisciplinary, and that's what I have been working for the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, interdisciplinary. That's a good word. We should start using that more. That's
yeah.
Good.
In fact, we go a step further. So I'm a member of the so-called Transdisciplinary Workspace Research Network, TWR, the TWR network. And so we are all researchers, international. Also, it's a question, by the way, of internationality. It's not only interdisciplinary, it should also be international. So we are a group, and interestingly, the majority is females. really, really funny. It's like 90% of our board are females. And we look at workspace issues, which has been very prominent recently, but we have founded it about 4 years ago, and we have a biannual conference where we look at all kinds of research regarding workspace and workplace. And we have psychologists and medical people and architects and engineers and business people and so on. So it's a great network, and it's transdisciplinary. And I think this could be something that we need for asset management as well, because workspace is like one part of of assets, an important one.
And it's such a big topic now. There's just a huge amount of thought being shared and written about what the workplace of the future will look like. They're cramming bunches of people into little spaces maybe isn't such a good idea, and people working from home maybe is a good idea. And, what do we get from, what is it that we really get by having people sitting, all in the same location? Are those the kind of topics or among the topics you're talking about?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have also been doing research. I mean, IT digitalization is also coming in there, and also is a big topic on asset management, of course, and how we can do that. And but there you have the questions. How does it impact health? I'm also a member of the German Occupational Health and Safety Association that is like governmental, and at the moment we are looking on one of our guidelines that is about space issues. So how big, how high, how much volume should be there from an occupational point of view. And there have been issues, and by the way, they are much larger than in the States or the UK. So these very little cubicles are not even allowed in Germany. But now we are talking about the interrelations on, it's not only the space or the air volume, it's also acoustics and other impacts on occupational health and how you steer that. And it becomes even more problematic if people are not working in the office where you have like a provided environment, but at home or at third places. And so how to protect them. And this is, it's a very interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary topic. And of course, there's the question, how does it impact office buildings and how much buildings? Everybody's talking, every investment manager is talking about, oh, are we getting 20% less space that we need in the future? Do we have an oversupply now? And how would the office space of the future look, and which is valuable to invest? So the developments of these assets are really important, like to have an outlook for the future for investors who do invest for 20, 30, 40 years, right? So they should have an idea how it looks, but we know very little about that, and we do not invest sufficiently in these questions. And that's a real problem, that asset management, like to do research on asset management, I don't hardly know anything that there is research in physical asset management. It's too interdisciplinary, and the companies are not spending money on that, although it would be really important, but we do not have much.
Yeah, there's not much in the United States. There are, I think at Duke University, they've done some work, and there's some, national laboratories that do a little bit, but not a lot. So Nick has joined us. Are we at that point already, Nick? Where'd the time
We're
go?
already at that point, and I'm not here to cut anyone off as usual. Just wanted to quickly thank our sponsors again, our patron sponsors, Onuma System and ABS Quality Evaluations, and our organizational members, of which Uberlytics and Mentor APM are two. And they are the sponsors of this program this month. And next Thursday at 4, you can see founder and co-founder Tacoma Zach and Jennifer Zach on this very program at 4 p.m. Eastern. And with that, I will pass it back to you guys for closing questions and thoughts.
It's good. Sometimes we go on for a little bit, Annette, if you have some more time. You have a few more minutes so you can stay awake in Germany?
Of course, no problem.
Somebody asked if you could share if there's a website for your group that you were talking about.
Oh yeah, can I write that into the chat?
Sure, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, TWR, transdisciplinary.
So if I could ask a question while you're typing is.
Yeah, right.
I know I can't
In
think
fact,
at the same time, so I've waited. So all of those interests, how does, what does, how does that impact your thinking and involvement is there a rewrite of ISO 55000 and 55001 that we're starting now?
By the way, I'm just not aware what the website is, but if you type in Transdisciplinary Workplace Research Network, you will find them with the website, and it's really interesting. And we are having our next conference next year in Milan, and might then 2 years after that might go overseas to the States. We'll see. Thank you. And regarding the ISO, what I think what it can perfectly do is like to summarize some of the most important strategic leadership asset considerations that should be acknowledged when doing not only asset management, when doing strategic management with assets. And if you look at these systems, and I think it's very holistic compared to, like, for example, quality management or risk management or others of these management norms, because it covers so much more. You can really use it as like a general framework for strategic and operative management. And it's like a guideline, but it's not a textbook, it's norm. And this is something that I think when we go over the norm, we will have more references to these kind of knowledge bases that people can refer for, that might have been educated in engineers and do not know more about these other topics that should be known. And especially the 55,000, and then a little more in the detail. So I think it's a really good instruction, checklist, guideline, not in the detail, but to give a framework on what you should know about that.
Yeah. So in Germany, when we, in 2014, when the standards were published, we said, boy, it'd be really good if we could, if senior executives learned about asset management so they knew what we were talking about. And now I think it's clear in the States that any competent executive in a corporation or in government policy understands what asset management is now. Do you see the same thing in Germany? Is it having that impact as yet, or is there much adoption of 55,000?
It's really devastating. It's like even people who really should know that it exists, like the 9,000, they don't have ever heard of that. And so, like, one of the biggest tasks of our Mirror Committee at the moment is that we need to do much more marketing and making people aware that this norm exists. As far as I know, you cannot even get certified by a German certifier. So they have to use international ones. And I think there only exist like three companies, and it's like the large energy providers, Stromnetze Berlin, something like that. So the energy providers, gas and water, because they are regulated in Germany. But like, for example, real estate is not much regulated regarding the professionals. So they are not interested at the moment. It's not necessary to know the norm, at least not by regulation. So we have to also show how it's valuable. And this is some kind of the research that I think we need to do as everybody international who is in asset management, that we really show and prove that you provide more value, you have better performance when you use the asset management rules, guidelines, norms, than if you don't. And at the moment, because it's so complex, it's rather hard to prove that. So we need more on that, more case studies, more examples, more evidence that it's really valuable and not only complex.
Yeah, where I was thinking of that early adopter curve, where it's harder at the beginning and then everybody will jump on board, and but we're slowly creeping up that slope, to get to more adoption, I think, everywhere. Is there any chance the governments, national or, local municipal governments would ever adopt 55,000 or, to use or require its use?
I could only imagine that this happens, and maybe I'm a little bit hopeful, and that with the kind of sustainability issues with the ESG, like the environmental, social, and governmental issues, has become a big discussion in Germany. And we just had, like last week, there was from our highest court was a jurisdiction, how do you say that? But it was said that what the German government plans to provide regarding CO2 emissions and sustainability issues, but especially CO2 emissions, is not sufficient, and they have to move on. And now, of course, the big question is how to do that. And I could imagine when we get into the norm a little bit more of this kind of sustainability issues, and that it helps to have this complexity in, as I said, like real estate provides about 60%, if you calculate everything, of CO2 emissions to the atmosphere. Only 35% for consumption, energy consumption. But if you have cement and all the other things, it's like 60% of CO2 emissions. So it might be that it gets kind of regulation, but I don't know. I mean, the 9,000 has become for public offers and so on, for public buildings, the 9,000 is necessary. So the companies have to provide this. Maybe for investment managers, maybe for that, maybe one day, but I think we are really far away from that, unfortunately.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, we grapple with the same things here. How to advance it is, again, part of what the ALN is about. So I live on the East Coast, of course, the United States, and in all the newspapers here, it's the gasoline pipeline that feeds the whole East Coast. It used to run across the property of a house I lived on. I used to live on the estate of James Monroe, one of our early presidents, and the pipeline runs right across it, so it's not far from here. But it was, they had a security breach and a ransomware attack. And I found that when I think about us in asset management, security, either both physical security, but also information security and system security hasn't been a big issue. Is this a topic you've thought about or is talked about in Germany?
I think this is the reason why most of the players and the few certified companies, but most of the people who engage in our Merger Committee are from gas, water, electricity companies, which are rather large in Germany. And of course, they have these kind of security issues. So they have more of an incentive and maybe regulation because they have other norms and standards that they need to adopt. It might be that we can show that this is the way to get there, because you have so many technical norms in Germany. I mean, it's so many, not possible anybody can know them all, but maybe, yeah, it's really crazy. But so maybe regarding the asset management, that it becomes for these kind of companies becomes a legal issue. I could imagine, but it's not so much my topic. And for the real estate industry, I don't see that we get that if we are not going over sustainability issues. Yeah, but we'll see. It's very far away at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rising issue, for sure. So there's a question here. Maybe we'll make this the last question because we don't want to take your whole evening. But someone in the chat said that you mentioned a different approach to real estate asset management in Germany than in the US. Could you elaborate on that at all?
I don't know whether I understood or what the one is referring to. I mean, asset management as like used a standard word has been on financial management. So it's like asset management, different asset classes, shares and real estate and so on. And so asset management is the overall thing of compared to wealth management, I would say. And so a lot of people know this word and assign it only to financial asset management. And yesterday I talked to a guy, and he is very knowledgeable about management issues. And he instantly understood when I said, like, come and join us. I think you would be the right person to be on our committee and shape the new norm. He was like, but this asset and it's only on financial value. And I said, like, no, it's not only on financials. And I think this value discussion that we also had in our committees is very important, that it's not about monetary value, but about performance and reaching your goals. And it could be different kinds of objectives, very different kinds. And I think that's maybe one of the first things that asset management helps to reach your objectives. And there's no organization that I'm aware of that has no assets at all, only HR, only personnel. I don't think so. So everybody is affected. And when we show that even like the church, for example, has assets to manage, and a lot of assets to manage, and maybe financial issues are not the foremost goal, but still, I mean, there's a lot of cost, and there's gathering rooms and churches and so on. So the values are a lot. I think we have to make more explicit that it helps their overall mission and vision if they professionally manage their assets. And there's an understanding problem when we come back to the management question.
Really good. Well, is there any question you thought I was going to ask and didn't, or anything else you'd like to share before we close for today?
No, I think we touched a lot of different issues that are dear to my heart also. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. And I hope it was interesting for others as well.
Yeah, it certainly was to me. And there was a lot of positive feedback in the chat. Well, we look forward to hopefully, I look forward to working with you and the others in the ISO 55000 effort, and look forward to hopefully to getting you involved in ALN events in the future.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So have a good evening, and see you next Thursday.
Oh, very good. That's great.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Annette, and thanks, Nick and Mike, and thanks for everybody who attended today. Have a great afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on where you are.